Hello and welcome to House of Cult. My name is Alessandro, and with me, as always, is Ariel, the owner and founder of the Pretty Cult. Today, we have an especially awesome band on the show today, none other than Sumo Cyco, the fiercely DIY and versatile, I would say hard rock, maybe a little bit of metal, a little bit of electronic elements, and obviously the band is set to drop their highly anticipated fourth studio album, Neon Void, which drops on October 24th. How's
Hell
it
yeah.
going today, guys?
Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having us. Thanks
I,
for
I
that
like
great
the
intro.
description. They're giving us the description.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a genre bending band. I guess it's hard to classify your music in a lot of ways, which is a good thing, you know?
yeah, no, I just like it because we do get lumped in just because we have heavy guitars. People start just lumping us in as a metal band, and not that I don't love metal, but I feel like real traditional metal fans don't consider us a metal band, and I think it's cool that you can see that that's not exactly what we're striving for, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, especially with this new album, it's definitely such a culmination of so many different influences, which we'll definitely, I'm sure, touch on throughout this
Yeah,
conversation. But yeah,
100%. Just like the two of us came from so vastly different like backgrounds and brought our unique styles and personalities to this project, which I think is what makes it what it is.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, with Neon Va Void finally arriving October 24th, your first record in 4 years, how are you guys feeling with these final weeks leading up to the release, especially since, you've described the album as being one of the ones you've spent the most time on. I can only imagine that it was definitely, a labor of love, and you're probably finally very excited to have it out in the world.
Yeah, I think like most projects, it feels like you've been just like, just gardening this little, like taking care of this little plant and just like hoping that it'll eventually blossom and like come out into the world. And you're like, when is everyone gonna finally be able to hear it? And to us, it's like almost feels like we've just been keeping this secret away from everyone for so long. It feels like forever for me, some of these songs that we've had kind of ready to kind of see the light of day, see the sunlight finally. So it feels really rewarding, really nice to finally be able to put it out. And I think I forget too, with so much of the busyness around an album release, I'm working on tons of other stuff than just the music. We've got so many
Mhm.
visuals, and then we're like working on the website and merch drops and interviews and all this stuff. And you forget sometimes it's just like, everyone just wants to hear the music. Like it really, at the end of the day, just comes down to actually just putting music out so people can hear it. And that's like sometimes I have to remind myself that's what we're mainly here to do. But I get so into all the other like stuff around it that I forget that that's like the main purpose sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, definitely that's a point we were going to bring up later, is obviously I feel like fiercely DIY is how I would probably describe it, nature of Sumo
Yeah, I
Cyco,
love that description. Yeah, I love it.
It's, in-house. I mean, from what I can understand, like you guys have your own converted church studio. You do the music videos there. I'm assuming you're doing, the majority of the recording there. You're directing the music videos. I mean, that's a very rare thing in this day and age.
I don't
And
think we would have survived this long if we hadn't figured out how to cut out a lot of the middlemen. We would have
Mhm.
spent too much. I think that people don't realize how much bands get sucked into, trying to make it look so pro and so this and that if they're working through a label that they're owing that label back for all the cost of things, right?
Mhm.
And so, like Skye went through that with her first record contracts. So it was a real, when starting this, it was one of those like, we have to cut out as many middlemen and figure out how to do this and save budget so that we can survive as a band through the hardships of things. And I think that's what it started as. And we've just kind of kept going like that and figuring it out as we go.
Well, I think it's also cool how organically like Matt and I actually bonded over like our love for like m movies, and we would have movie nights back in the day when I was
I love terrible horror movies.
Oh, well, you're
Mm.
on the right podcast for that then.
yes. And we would be on tour. And my previous project when I was doing pop music, Matt played guitar for me. So we've known each
Oh,
other since
okay.
I was 14 years old. He's been playing
Wow.
guitar all the way since back then. So we would be on tours, and going through the truck stops, and then he would stop at all the bargain bins, and we would like look through all these old DVDs and like pick out what we're gonna watch on the bus that night. And then we'd bond over that, and he would be like, "Oh my God, did you see that shot? That was so cool how that was done. Like they must have, it with some of the movies it's pretty low budge, so you're kind of seeing how to do it without like special effects and things." And then
We're
we would
still trying to do that. We're
we would
watching.
take
Yeah.
ideas and we'd be bonding over, oh, that was so cool. That was so cool. And then, years later, we applied all those kind of techniques into our own project. And we really both love filmmaking and love visuals as well. So I think that that's why we kind of took that piece on instead of hiring like an outside like
And you
director.
can see it, like our early stuff is just so cheap looking, uh, and which was still a lot of fun. We were
Mhm.
just teaching ourselves how to use cameras and stuff like that. So, I'd like to think over all the year we've done like I don't know 40 music videos or something. So now I think they're looking pretty good these days. Like, they're for independent. Like I think that we're living up pretty good. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the video for
Yeah.
Villains. Like it looks so cinematic. So the fact that
Yeah.
you guys did that DIY, like no one can tell. I think you guys have gotten it down.
Yeah. As someone that my day job, I work at a record label, as someone that sees a lot of music videos, like if that music video came across my desk, I'd be like, did that cost like $30,000, $40,000? Like, this is
That's great.
crazy.
That's great.
Like, so, obviously hats off to you guys. And, quick detour, like you bring up the early roots, and we were going to kind of touch on this later. Ariel and I were kind of chatting before. I was a massive Skye Sweetnam fan back in the day.
Oh,
I was
cool.
kind of, I
Cool.
was, I was definitely like I think that the proper age for it. I'm 31 now, so like when those songs were coming out, it was like the prime time. I'm
Cool.
watching Degrassi, I'm listening to Skye Sweetnam, I'm having the time of my life, and it's so
Uh,
cool that Matt, you were involved in that era as well too. And I'm kind of curious, just obviously we'll get back to the new album, but you know sort of what was that like biggest lesson that you guys sort of learned from that era of that chapter of your career that you sort of now have really applied to this band going forward?
Mhm.
What'd you learn?
A
I got
lot.
tons of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the thing is at the end of the day, there was so many things that you're like, wow, this is how the inner workings of a label works. This is one of the biggest labels in the world. And really just like removing the mystique and the curtain and really seeing kind of like how the cogs work behind the scenes was really, really interesting. Now, it's not the way it works now at all. Like, obviously, things have changed so drastically from like what, 2000, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's not like like the way that we structure our, business now, we can't really survive the same way they used to back then. I mean, for them, I was really lucky to be a priority artist. So there was a lot of money spent on like interesting promotions and sending me out on these crazy trips. And
Yeah, but you still owed. We still every
yes.
single amazing thing was going on. There's a bill being racked up. That's
Hmm.
the
Exactly.
Hmm.
reality of it,
Then you
right?
start realizing in the failures, like for instance, one of the things that just hits me as like, why wasn't this done? Was one of my biggest tours I ever did was going out and opening for Britney Spears. And at that time,
Oh,
I had no music out, no merch, no music.
yeah.
Whoa.
They sent
So
us on a 3 month tour with her American side and European side and no merch. It was
What?
that's crazy.
they
What?
they stalled out on it. They were like, "Oh, this is all part of our strategic plan." I was like, "Your strategic plan? You have us in front of 20,000 people and you're not selling t-shirts. Like, what the fuck?" It was there's so you just, there's these like crazy roller coasters of like, oh, you're right, everybody's running right on top of the game, and then all of a sudden you're like, what just got, yeah.
yeah, what's going on? And like the music video budgets, like talking about music videos, like insane, like
Yeah.
absolutely scene, like, and I remember this one music video we did, we completely filmed the whole thing and it was like super expensive and then they just scrapped it because
Hmm.
they wanted to do something else. And then it's just like, wow, like it's just like
It was like
money.
$1 million video. They just threw in the garbage.
Yeah.
So
Compared to now, right? Like it's just a complete different game back then. But it
yes.
wasn't necessarily being run amazing, like that's for sure.
Well, I did
No.
a lot of like different like disagreements with like the creative as well because I was so young. So I think it was really hard for me to assert myself in the same way I can now when you're new and you're so like young and green to the industry and being like, well, I actually think this album cover would be better. And they're like,
Yeah.
we've done the marketing, we've done the testing, we know that this is going to sell better. And I definitely built up like a bit of like just like resentment against like just having to do things that these other people were telling me to do.
Yeah.
I think it kind of grew with sumo that there's a little bit of like this underlying rage. And I think that's why I kept getting heavier and heavier with my music. Is I was like, what, you're telling me no? Like I can't do this? And I'm
Yeah.
like, one day when I'm free, of all the shackles, I can just like do whatever. So I kind of went wild with Sumo Cyco. And that's I think why we even started this project was I just wanted to kind of let some aggression out from all those years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I mean, that really segues, perfectly into the next thing I want to sort of chat about, which is obviously Neon Void. You can really feel the rage and the aggression, within this record. And I love that you mentioned like feeling free, with this band. And you really hear that. And like there's so much musical freedom going on with this record and these new songs. And I kind of want to touch on the fact, you were kind of open that, this record was sort of inspired in part by like challenging times in your life, as well as like, from what I kind of interpreted, like sort of like the unsettling nature of like constantly being connected on the internet, the doom scrolling world that we live in and whatnot. Why
Isn't it
did you
freaking you
feel
out?
so,
Doesn't
sorry?
it freak you out this doom scrolling world right now? It's freaking me out more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just kind of curious, why you felt kind of compelled to channel those elements and themes into this record. And, what do you sort of hope listeners take away from it?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the fans actually mentioned because I'm a very visual person, so when we were coming up with the album titles, we wanted something that sounded like Sumo Cyco, which is mixing the light and the dark, which is really what we do. It's like we're a vibrant explosion of color, but at the same time we have like a lot of dark themes and we're also like a pretty heavy band in some spots. So Neon Void really seemed like I could think of the how the music videos and how the album would come together. But then someone just mentioned, is when you're saying Neon Void, do you mean like your phone? Like the neon void of like you being sucked into like your
Hmm.
phone and that world. And I was like, it's a perfect actually analogy that I didn't even think of when we came up with the title. Because I do feel like it literally like sucks everyone into this like colorful, like, it's designed to like be like a gambling machine that you're getting
Hmm.
hits every 2 seconds when you click on stuff. And it's like this void of information, but like you're also kind of feel like empty after you get off like a doom scrolling session. So it
Yeah.
has this like profound like
You feel
effect.
soulless.
Yes. So I really do feel like it is such an interesting era we're living through, and I'd like to think we will evolve past all being like this everywhere we go.
That's because they're gonna put it in your eye.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think.
You won't have to have that anymore. You'll just blink and they'll change the channel and
100%. Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah, but seriously, like it honestly, so much doom and gloom. I feel like the news cycle, I feel like it's literally engineered like to get you to click on stuff by making it more sensational and more negative and more everything's got to be more extreme, more extreme, more
But I
extreme.
mean, we have to swim in it though. We can't just be that negative in the end because you're putting out that's the half the way we reach people as well. So
That's
it's
the thing. It's
Hmm.
like it's
it's a real
necessary
contradiction
evil.
and a real hypocritical push and pull game sometimes. So for me, it's like I really like just tell myself if I'm not promoting and it's not something educating me, I like to put it down these days. I'm like, no, no, no. I'd rather put myself into something else. We were lucky, just I was lucky I think about 3 years ago we were on tour, or I can't remember which year it was, but I smashed my cell phone during one of the performances, and we were in the States. Being Canadian, I couldn't just grab, get the company to send me a new phone. So I was
Yeah.
out without a phone for about 6 weeks,
Hmm.
and I just did the whole tour without it, and it was crazy how different my life was again. It was like back when I was a kid, where I was like there's just all this openness. I was paying attention to everything and all this different kind of lifestyle. So it's a game right now. It's a tedious game to hold that thing up and get too sucked in, but yet I want to put my stuff out and I want to reach people. And I love seeing new music. I want to find that's where
Yeah.
I find my new music half the time. So it's a hard
Double-edged
game
sword.
right now, and it's scary with all the creepy news that comes out too. It just
Yeah.
torments our brains. So
Yeah.
With so much of it being like sponsored posts and things like that, it's not like you can really control what you see anymore. It's not like you're curating what you're consuming. Like it just pops up and scares you. Like, did you know this weird fact? And you're just like, okay, I don't want
Yeah.
to know that. Thank you.
yeah, some of the songs were written for this record in the pandemic, which is when I feel like the cell phones, like everybody became a celebrity on their cell phone, where they were
Hmm.
like,
Mhm.
they all realized we can reach people and have our own TV show and it's just become this saturated, crazy market, which I think it really played with your brain,
Oh,
especially. Like,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
I got super into like world's events and like super into like just like diving down all the rabbit holes. And I realized like I really had to stop going that
Hmm.
far because it was really affecting my life, like my mental health. And instead of just being able to enjoy my world and my space, it was like I'm thinking of all these exterior issues that I have absolutely no control about. And it's taking up so much brain space that I think it was like, yeah, I did feel like I was just getting sent into that
into the neon
spiral,
void.
into the void, you know? So,
Long answer to a question.
No,
yes.
that was a beautiful answer. Absolutely. Like you fully painted the picture.
I
And
mean, I'm sure you guys feel it too. Everybody has to feel
yeah.
Mhm.
it.
I
You
mean,
get on that thing and you get sucked in, and like 2 hours later, sometimes you're like, what the fuck did I like?
I
I
know.
don't even know what I was looking at for 2 hours.
TikTok is like that for me. If I go on for work, I have to be really careful to not push like the feed page
Mm.
because I will just start, catching up on stuff that I do like to see.
Sure.
But especially on TikTok, there's so much added stuff now with like the ads and then like they're, the way you have your following and then like for you page, but half the time you don't even realize which one you're on. And then I just like I try and be careful because I'm like, yeah, I will not realize that an hour's gone by because I went on for work and then like started doing this. And it's the same like similar to you guys, I have to post and promote and all the stuff all the time. So, like my personal page, I don't click over to very often, or I really only look at it at night because then I feel like between business page, personal page, I'm just on the damn thing all the time. Even though, and I try really hard to like during the day, if I go on socials, it's for work. Like I do what I need to post and then I get right back off so I can finish what I need to do. But it's hard. It's like
It is
entertaining, or sometimes you're just like, what the hell am I watching? And like, yeah,
hypnotizing.
Yes.
yeah, it
And it's so
is.
engineered too. It just feels like a little bit insidious as well as like all the different tricks that the apps use because they research this like with tons of money to know what is gonna make people stay on my app as long as
Yep.
possible.
Well,
So,
you know what else they say that all this tech is making like life faster and more easy, but like if you go to any truck stop in the States now, it takes 3 times longer to go to the bathroom because
Yeah.
the stalls are all full and people are just sitting there on their
My
phone
phone.
wasting goddamn time. And you're like,
It's
man, I
very true.
go number two, bro. Like, hurry up.
It's so funny.
Oh my
practicality is
Yeah.
what.
Anyway.
Absolutely. No, and another thing I sort of want to touch on, I read in your press release that, this a lot of the like the kind of skeletons of these songs started on this upright piano that was gifted to you, Skye, during the pandemic. And I'm kind of curious too, like sort of writing the songs that way, before sort of, because obviously there's so many layers and so much crazy production on this record, but was sort of the intentionality sort of like if a song can be amazing stripped down first, was that sort of like the kind of the recipe for this record, you would say?
Yeah, that's exactly what our manager told us when we were writing more songs for this record. Because Matt and I are machines. Like when it comes to writing, it's what we both love and we're passionate about. But when we were coming up with this record, our management was just like, I think you guys should just like write and write more than you've ever written before. And also encouraged me like if it's stripped down, if it's just on the acoustic, if it's just on a piano and it's a great song, then no matter what you do to embellish it, it's still going to have that like core melody and structure that will make it, as good as it can be. And so, but it was really just like a beautiful gesture of Matt, really. It's like still warms my heart when I think about it because I was kind of like, down a bit low and stuff coming out of the pandemic, and I felt like I had already like written a bunch of songs and we're trying to play catch up because we had a record come out in 2021 in the middle of the pandemic, and then
Couldn't tour it at the
so then
time.
we had to tour it
Mm.
years later, and then we were catching up with that tour, and then we're like, damn, it's been so long. And we kind of had a whole restructuring of our like team and management and everything. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm starting from like step one again. Like it feels
Hmm.
like I have to start all the way. And he's like, gets me this present. And it was like, it's a huge piano. So around here, it's like anyone will give away like a big piano for free if you'll move it out of their house. So the
Hmm.
moving part is actually like what everyone wants
No,
you
my
to
parents are literally dealing with this right now. Like,
do.
truly. They're like, we need to just take it. Like,
Yes. So Matt actually used to work in a moving company, so he had some buddies, and he's like, you know what? If I find like a cheap like piano online, like like a secondhand thing, like if I get my buddies to do it, this is like a pretty cool gift for like, something he could pull off pretty nice. So and he knew that like we've had keyboards in the studio or whatever, but like I just really didn't touch them because I'm like, I got this like sick guitar player over here. If I ever need riffs, like he's a machine. He'll just like churn them out for me and I'll write, till infinity on those. But I had played piano growing up, and I grew up like in a household where my dad would play guitar chords that he would read on sheet music on the piano. So like really basic piano kind of chord structure. And he would play like all of his favorite tracks and musicals. And he would always ask me as a little kid, like, oh, Skye, what song do you want to do? I'll play it for you and you can sing. And then I started getting my hands, dirty in piano when I was younger. I did a few lessons when I was 16 and wrote a few songs, but kind of left it there and then was like off into rock band world. So
mhm,
bringing the piano back in the house, I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't realize how much I missed it. And just like the tactile feeling of real strings like vibrating, like there is something there that cannot be replicated in like a keyboard because the keyboard has to be plugged in to an amp, whereas you can
mhm,
just hear the organic sound of the strings just being hit by the mallets. And it just
mhm.
like the vibrations, that's what, sound is. And when it hits your body and hits your soul, that's where you start to feel like really feel it, right?
Yeah.
It was awesome. I just got to like jam out and just kind of learn again, like playing piano. And then also just having the ability or learning to have the ability again to be able to accompany myself. So if I had an idea, instead of having to like explain it, because we're not super into music theory here. So it's not like I'm like, oh, go to the B sharp and then go to the G or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
sing
Yeah.
na 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 na, and then I'll just like sing it, and then he'll have to try to be like, what do you mean, like this, like this? So when I had the piano, it's like I can kind of figure out all those mystery, I guess, parts that I'm not sure about, that I'm just kind of like figuring out, kind of riffing, and then I can kind of work my way through it. And it feels, empowering too, to be like, I can accompany myself and sing a whole song and ta-da, it's done. So yeah, that was like a real cool, like different thing that was like around this record that I really, really enjoyed that process. And then for Matt to be open to kind of like putting his head around the corner every time you heard a riff or a song or a melody that he was like, "Ooh, that one could kind of be like a sumo song." Because at first I was very like, piano ballady pop
Yeah.
girl, pop singer songwriter. And then I started kind of as I got more experimenting with like some weirder, like darker riffs and like kind of different ways of playing. He would be like, "Oh, that one's Skye, like keep working on that. That one's good." And yeah, and then one of the main tracks on the album that really features the piano the most, where we actually kept it kind of more intact, is a song called Stronger Now, whereas the rest of the songs really kind of took on another life and another once we got Matt working on the production
Yeah,
and
like
then
half the record was still piano starting though. We did a lot of piano playing. Skye did a lot of piano playing.
Wow.
But it's yeah, they really turned into some interesting songs. It's interesting because she did it this way where we're like we could break it down that way, and then pulling the piano completely out and just trying to do a complete different instrumental to what she had written. And I think it's a song Pain and Love on there was one of the ones that really was you would be if you heard the piano version compared to what it became is completely a mutant. But yeah, I think it was interesting. We'd never done it this way before, so it was fun.
yeah.
Very
I love
cool.
that. That's really,
Yeah.
that's so unique. Obviously we kind of mentioned it in our intro, but Sumo Cyco has always kind of blurred genres, but Neon Void feels the most, seamless yet. There's punk, there's cyber metal, there's metalcore, there's rock, there's electronic elements. Why do you think that balance like clicked so well this time? And were there any artists or bands or things that were inspiring you along the way during this album?
hmm Well, I think the interesting part about writing so many songs before we narrowed it down is it was really kind of like a curation of like, the best ingredients that we felt like complemented each other, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes when we were kind of narrowing down the track listing, which is always hard because you're like throwing songs that you really love kind of to the wayside and favoring other ones. And then you have to kind of also realize like the album needs like a good balance, right? It's like any like good meal. It's like, is it too salty? Is it too bitter? Like, what are the flavors we're missing here to kind of round it out? And do we want to show, a little bit more, kind of this maybe like reggae kind of rock track, like Abandon All Ships? Like, it does that fit here? Or do we want to kind of lean more in like a more punk direction? Or do we have enough of that flavor that we're kind of wanting something a little bit different? And I do think that Matt and I both really, I think have a like put having diversity and like a lot of different flavors on a little bit of like a pedestal in our priority list of like how we want to present ourselves to the world. So if even if we have like five badass rock songs, but they all have the same vibe, we're very much like, no, 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 let's keep two and let's do something else for the three so that we have these different places to go and different vibes to kind of show off because we love so much music. And even with all the genres we've jammed into this record, there's probably like a million more we probably probably could do if we really wanted to. But we just, what comes out, and then you try to find the right mixture of songs to like make it work. But there was so many different things that would come through, like Matt he started in punk bands when he was really really young, so like very like simple chord punk. He sang for a band called Henry's Volunteer for a bunch of years and then went in and played got like really into like the Police and like a lot of like different, like I remember you telling me you would go to raves. And so then he has this like reggae rock band Dodger
Just
for a
dating her
while.
right now. Just dating. I am.
And my background was like I was a theater kid, so it was like all the like theatrics and musical theater and like really kind of being theatrical with your voice and like
hmm
trying like different ways to express yourself as if you're a character. So I love experimenting like having different characters kind of come out of my voice. And it's almost like I like having those moments where I can leave behind who I am and almost like embody a different person in some ways. I love doing that with my voice and trying on the different hats, you know? And then also having like a pop background where it was just like hammered into me as a young girl. It's like hook, 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 then another
Yeah.
hook, and another hook. So it's all like these pop melodies are just like constantly, I'm trying to find the best, hookiest melodies I can.
And then we fight about it for a while.
Yeah, because then Matt's like, no, 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 it's got to
I'm
be
like, I
clean.
hate this hook. I hate that hook. There's way too many hooks. It's so damn hooky that it's actually annoying as F. And we go through a battle, to be honest, a little bit with
Yeah.
it of like what's we consider a nice balance between the two of us that we don't hate, or we love the song together, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it was also different as well because this is the first record we've done with an outside producer doing the
I was going
whole
to bring that up.
record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Matt
We
obviously has produced a lot of Sumo Cyco's work in the past. And it was like a weird way that the whole kind of record came together because we were really kind of working with our new team and our management. They're like, yeah, you guys should just like write as much as you can and then we'll narrow down like the best of the best. And it was kind of taking a while for us because we're actually kind of shopping around to see if any producers we wanted to work with. And we're kind of, dipping our toes in the water and having a talk with this guy over here or whatever. And nothing was really feeling like it was just like gelling where we're both like, oh, this is a really good fit.
Some producers don't like us because we're weird, right? They're like, get it? And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
you guys should just go more metal, or you guys should just go more rock, or you guys should go X. Like we've heard that a million times, but like it's kind of not what we're about, right? So it's
Mhm.
like if we went all the way one way or all the way other, then we're not really the band that we wanted to create, which was this amalgamation of stuff. So it was about
Yeah.
6 months of going back and forth with other random producer this thinks this, we don't agree finally, we got
Or
to
it'd
move
be
on
like,
to
oh, we
this.
have to wait 2 weeks to get on a call with this person.
Yeah,
And then it
yeah.
was just like dragging out. And so finally we were like, you know what? We're going to make the call. And Sam Guiana, who ended up doing the record with us, actually grew up in my hometown. And we were kind of like mutuals,
Mm.
but we just kind of knew each other through someone else. Like it was like a one or two people removed kind of situation.
He's
And
done some amazing records
Oh
too.
yeah.
He's done
yeah,
like all
yeah.
the new like Silverstein records, I believe.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of those.
It was half the
So-
reason why we reached out. He did the Devil Wears Prada mix on the last
yes.
print that I really liked. And we'd already done a pretty good amount of production on this thing and really honed in on about 20 plus songs that we were narrowed it down to. And then we got him involved to narrow it down to like 12
Yeah. And the
and
idea actually
come in and
was,
just kind of revision
yeah, the
some
idea
of it.
originally was we wanted to
Yeah,
get,
this got crazy.
yeah, we wanted to get our bass player Oscar and our drummer Joey all in a room for like a month before Sam arrived because he was going to do the recording here at our studio. And so we're like, let's do like a month of just like jamming straight. We'll jam all the songs out and we'll work like
All the
how we're
parts
going to
that
do
we
it
do
live.
live compared to when you're in a studio, you really find out when you're live how much difference things start to happen. You're like, oh, that's we really worked great in the studio because we can fix and work things out. And then you like go live and you're like, oh, wait a second, like how out of breath are you when you're doing this part and how
Hmm.
this transitioning, maybe we shouldn't have made this riff as complicated. We could, and all that we wanted to do before
Sam
a
got
big
here.
a big
Yeah.
pre-production, which we'd never done before. Skye and I always just writing out in a studio and we're like, bang, we like this song, let's change it up a bit. But this one was like, let's revamp and keep revamping, rework. What's it going to be like when they see us live and how? And like, yeah, that was a
Yeah,
hard one
and
for us
it was a
because
very tough one because the first day we were supposed to start our rehearsals with the band,
our
our
drummer got into a bad car accident and almost
Oh
died.
no.
Oh
yeah,
Like the
God.
same day that all this production was sort of,
he was actually missing for a number of hours, and we went looking for him,
yeah,
and
it
then
was a
we're
long
like,
story,
it's
but
a long story. Poor Joe. Thank goodness I'll let you guys know he's doing way better now.
Good.
So yes,
he's still healing though.
still
He's got a
healing.
lot of healing to do, but it really kind of kicked
It
the
was like whoop, the wind right out of our sails. Like we had put this month aside to like just work with the band and like he's, in this tragic situation. So we're, instead of rehearsing the record, we're going to the hospital every other day
Oh
and
my
checking on our
God.
buddy who's in a coma.
Meanwhile, we still have Sam booked to fly in from LA. We've got an Airbnb down the road for him that he's staying at. Like everything's still got to roll. All the music videos, dates are all booked. Everything's booked, right? We're like, oh,
Wow.
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So we did like a total like 180 on our plan. I actually was like, Matt, we have to do something to distract us because we're just gonna sit here in doom and gloom like for this month, like waiting for Sam to get here because we're not with our boys rehearsing and we're feeling bad for Joey. So I was like, let's just redo the studio room. Like I literally was doing like a home makeover over our studio room.
Wow.
Like we just need to keep our hands busy to do something this month. But it really kind of like, just was another kind of weird, like just twist in our plans that really kind of just like,
It
was
was good
another
that we
doom and gloom
It
situation in
was
our
good we got a
brains.
hold of Sam because he kept us reeled in, like for the fact that we were going through a bit of trauma because of our drummer. Sam wasn't part of the family, so it's like him coming in was really easy for him to like pick and work with us and work songs and go, Skye, let's get in the studio, and I don't have to be there. He's, Skye had already done the vocals. She's redoing them, working with another producer that goes, maybe we should go this direction. And it really came together for the
Yeah.
fact that we didn't know if we would. I didn't know if we would finish or do the record once Joey got into it. I was like, oh, we're screwed for the year, but it came together pretty good. Sam really helped make it help come
Yeah.
together.
But I think it was like weird because it also kept that like weird kind of, I had these depressive kind of anxiety thoughts and I was working through them through the music and playing piano and kind of that was my therapy through it. But then we still had this like dark cloud kind of still over the project with Joey's accident. So it just kind of felt like, and I mentioned it in the first song Shivers, brothers doom and gloom have been performing on every screen and like to me I felt like I had these doom and gloom kind of like clouds just like everywhere I was going there was always like this ominous feeling like I almost had like is something else bad gonna happen like I always because it was kind of like on edge that this record would just never be able to be made. You know what I mean? It's like you have all these like ups and downs of like, am I gonna write the right record? Then the producers can't find the right guy, and then you have the accident. You're just like, there's so many times I think as artists, like period, just because it's a hard thing to like keep going, is like always having those moments where there's just like these roadblocks that you're just like, am I gonna make it over the next one? And how many more of these can I really take on my soul right now before I feel like so defeated that I won't be able to go on? And I think that like music is it's such a like a double-edged sword because it's like what we love and it's like feeding us, but at the same time, like the industry is so brutal and there's all these things happening in the world that affect that love. And it's really like remembering, and I think that's why the piano was so special to me, is like really remembering like why are you doing this? What do you love about doing this? And it's like, well, I love performing and playing music and creating music. And it just kind of got down to that like brass tacks of that. Like that's what it's all about at the end of the day, you know?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, such a
Yeah.
labor of love, this album, for sure.
Mhm.
That's incredible.
Oh
Yeah,
my
for sure.
gosh. Well, I'm glad that he's doing well now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's on the
We
mend
are
and
playing like
everything.
we're playing a Spinal Tap game more than any band right now.
Yeah.
I think we're like working with our seventh or drummer or something like that right now. It's just like we've had a new drummer almost every record cycle pretty
Mhm.
much, which is always great. We hire somebody, and Joey's been with us for about 4 years, but he can't play with us permanently right now because he's still healing. So we've got another friend that's just stepped in. He's doing pretty good. We rehearsed with him for the first time like last week or a couple
Mhm.
days ago, and I was like, man, he ran through a whole set with us really good. So it's we keep on trucking no matter what. It's
Yeah.
puts this
Aw.
game out there sometimes, keeping it all together. It's yeah.
Yeah,
So
Absolutely.
it's got to
Yeah.
keep going, you know?
That's
gotta
all you
keep
can do. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. On a bit of a lighter note, for Skye, we love to ask always some sort of like fashion style questions on here. Obviously, style is a very big part of you and Sumo Cyco as well. How do you come up with your looks for stage videos, daily life? It looks like you make a lot of your own clothes and stuff, I think, for the music videos and stuff, which is really cool. Is there any style inspirations that you have? And, does the aesthetic of Neon Void kind of tie into your own personal fashion choices within this like era that you're in?
Yeah. Well, I've always loved like we had this show in Canada, this character named Mr. Dress Up when we were kids, and he had this big chest called the tickle trunk. It sounds really weird, okay? Then he would open up.
What?
I know. It
Sounds
Let me
sounds
just tell you, I'm like the biggest connoisseur of like Canadian
I was gonna
television.
say, does
Like
Alessandro, you watched the show, didn't
this
you?
was this on like YTV or something like that, like back in the day
I
or
think,
something.
I'm trying to remember what channel it was on. It was probably on like one of the public broadcasts, like
Okay.
ETV, Morning TVO Kids, or one of these ones. Um, But Mr. Dress Up would open his tickle trunk, and inside was all the outfits. And then if he put on an outfit, like that's what he would be. And so my parents, when I was a kid, they called our big dress up box like the tickle trunk. And it was like you'd open the
Ew.
tickle trunk, and there'd be like my mom.
She just said, ew.
I know. My
It's
mom.
cute
Incredible.
for little, like thinking of a girl, like a little girl, and having her dress up trunk because I have a sister and we definitely had like our dress up clothes and they were kept in a trunk. So I was like, tickle trunk could be appropriate maybe for a little girl's thing. It's just odd that a man on a child show is going to get the tickle trunk. I'm just going to say it.
100%, 100%. I had to give that ode to like Canadian like trivia right there because that's like
Yeah.
probably deep embedded in somebody's subconscious.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, the tickle trunk from Mr. Dressup. So we had this like, big box, and like it might be like my mom's old dresses. Sometimes it'd be like my grandma's or my dad's old shirts or whatever. And I just loved like just dressing up, and like I would grab like different things from different outfits and make my own combos. And I always loved raiding my grandmother's closet. My grandmother was such a fashionista. Like she told me stories about like when she was like 12, she would save up all her babysitting money to go down to like the fancy street in Toronto, Yorkville, to like buy like
Hmm.
a new coat or something. And she was just like such an icon to me growing up. So like fashion is like deep embedded in like since I was a little kid. I just loved it. So I keep so much stuff. Our bedroom is literally like four walls of closets. Like it's intense in there. And I'm always loving to like grab stuff that say like I wore like 10 years ago and be like, yo, if I crop this up and like, put some safety pins on it, like it's a whole new look. And I didn't think I would wear this ever again, but now I can because the styles have turned around, and like I feel like I can like customize it and make it work. And I love that stuff because especially when you're doing like music videos and events and things, like
Mhm.
it's so nice to feel like you're wearing something that nobody else has that's like an original piece, and like that you're like kind of showing your personality through it, and like there's history. So like some of the wardrobe would either be like my dad's old cool like t-shirt he got at Frosh Week when he was like in university, and like I just love those stories, and I loved like thrifted stuff and like repurposing stuff. I
We live at the
love it.
thrift store.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
We're big thrifters. So, but for this record, I gotta give a shout out because this was the first time I ever worked with like a fashion designer on some custom pieces. So, shout out to Brandon Cure. I met him online, and there's this really cool like fashion week in Toronto called they do like this show called Fashion Art Toronto, and it's just basically a ton of cool independent designers that all get together for like one big kind of like fashion show where they all share the models, and it's just like everyone just like shares the venue, and they all show off like really cool, unique, original things. And Brandon's been showing there for a number of years. and just really showed interest in loving the music and like really being a fan. So I was like, well, why don't we try collabing on some stuff for this next record cycle? And I gotta give it up to him because it was really like this villain's outfit for the first single. He came up with this crazy coat with these spikes on the
So
shoulders.
cool. I was gonna say, I was like, I hope she talks about the villain's outfit because
Yeah.
I freaking love that outfit. And if anyone who's listening hasn't watched it, go watch that video. The song is amazing. But yes, and I was like, I wanted to ask who made the gloves.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
we got so the latex stuff, which is part of the gloves, was all done by a designer out of Toronto, House of Etiquette. And they also showed at one of the Fashion Art Toronto shows I saw. So that kind of got me onto them. And then being like someone who lo like has lots of ideas, but I'm not an actual like technical sewer. Like I wouldn't be able to fabricate something like that. Like having Brandon to kind of like bounce ideas off of, and he kind of asked, what's the theme of the song? Like, how are we gonna make this all work? And I was like, well, the whole video is gonna be like spikes, and he's like, perfect. Like, let's put that into the wardrobe as well. And so it was really cool. And Brandon's worked with me closely on every single video with at least one look. And one of the ones we did recently in a video called Asteroid. I gotta say, it was like I was running behind and I didn't have all my ideas together for the fashion. And I was like, okay, what are we gonna do for this? And it dawned on me, I was staring at my merch and we had like a ton of black bandanas, like in bulk that we got. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I just like sent these in the mail to him and said, just like make something, like make an outfit out of just the bandana fabric. So he just went crazy and did an awesome job on like I wanted like a kind of pinup housewife thing, but all made out of the Sumo Cyco bandana fabric. And he just pulled it off so cool. And I was so stoked because it was like a week and I was like, I don't know if we're gonna get something like super custom in a week. And it was like amazing. So lo I love that stuff because I just feel like when you have like a crazy idea and someone else has the skills to like help and they're like, I just need, someone who's enthusiastic to wear these things and is like creative and open to like weird ideas. And it's like a great match made there. So super stoked to have him on board and definitely love, dreaming up all these looks for the videos and for stage is a little bit different because I find, the practicality of making sure you're moving and you're not
Mm.
gonna like, have a slip up or something's gonna be
We've
too
had
hot.
major malfunctions where Skye's been, okay, well, that's not going to work next time.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
learned as we go.
Yeah, so that one is like definitely, the stretch fabric. Make sure that it, no matter which way we're moving, that it's all gonna stay on. But yeah, always playing with fashion, love it so much, and yeah, always trying to express in different ways and come up with new different looks. And thanks to Brandon, so shout out. And then yeah, and
And
then
then there's like this 1%, only like not 99% of the time she's happy. There's this like 1% where a photo will get released from a show we played like a week ago or like, whatever while we're on a tour. And she'll be like, who let me dress like that last night? Get out there. She just does not have, she's just like, what was I thinking that night?
yeah.
Else. It happens about once or twice a year where she's
Yeah.
like,
Well, the thing is I know I'm starting to actually realize this in myself is that I have like a very short attention span for like bigger artists will have a costume design for the entire tour where it's like this is what I'm wearing every night. I'm gonna have this change, but like essentially this is kind of like my wardrobe for this tour.
like us, we just wear black shirts. That's
Like
about
the
it.
bands, pretty
Mm.
simple. They know what to wear. Whereas I have a shower closet on our tour bus, which literally I took
We
over
should
the
have
shower.
showers, but we're not allowed to because it's a damn closet.
So I didn't have anywhere that would hang everything long ways to keep it all nice. So I took over the shower closet and I just like fill it with stuff. And then when I'm on the road, it's literally like an impulse. Like, what do I feel like today? What do I want to dress up as today? And it's like my own kind of ritual to like get in the mood to like be the rock star. You know what I mean? Like you start off like all tired with bedhead and you're just kind of like grungy living on the road off of like some old Taco Bell, and you got to turn into like a cool rock star by the end of the night. So it's like my process to like turn into my superhero, is like opening the shower closet, coming up with who am I going to be today, and putting on the makeup and getting creative, and the whole process of like just actually thinking of like what do I want to look like tonight and not making it the same every night is kind of like a fun activity for me to kind of get in the zone. So I really enjoy that part about live, but eventually I know I've got to like streamline the process.
Mine's like, do I wear the white shoes or the black shoes? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I love
Well,
it.
kind of, before we sort of wrap up here, you mentioned a love of horror, and that is a huge, I think, passion of this podcast and just I think the culture behind the Pretty Cult, I would say. So
Yeah.
obviously I think we should. Chat a little bit of horror. I would personally just love to know some of your favorite films. Then we always like to ask our guests if you could score, like your music could score any horror film, what would it be and why?
Oh,
Ooh, that's an
interesting.
interesting question.
Well, I'm gonna say that Matt and I have some, we have some cult favorites. Like we're big Evil Dead fans. I remember that was like a eye opener for me for like DIY filmmaking, and like Matt and I like went to the musical. We still have like a huge poster of the Evil Dead musical in our house
It was
Nice.
and
bad.
got blood splattered on us, all that stuff. That was
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like I would say, like, what are your like Evil Dead's got to be like one of
Evil
your
Dead
top three.
series. I mean, I'm an older guy, like, so I come from the Evil Dead series. I come from the Halloween, first original John
hmm
Carpenter's
Mm.
Halloween. To
You want
this
to know
day,
something? Sorry to
still
cut
keep
you
that
off,
on it.
but I live pretty much like 2 blocks away from the Halloween house here in
Oh,
Pasadena.
that's
And
awesome.
I go get coffee every morning and I just park right in front of the house and it's so cool.
You
Like,
know, you can put that first one on over and over again, and even with all the amount of saturation of movies that have followed it that have done the same thing, this one, and it's a lot of it because just the music alone, John Carpenter's little piano lines and no music in
hmm
plots, just there's an eerie feeling to that film even to this day. But like I can go into really weird stuff. I can get pretty sucked in these days on but like I like all the older stuff more than newer stuff. I don't find I think like the last newest stuff that I liked was all the paranormal activity movies.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought those were really, really smart. Especially business wise, if you think about it, because you look into the budgets of what they built these films for, and they built all these films for like, 5 to 10 million bucks, and they've made something like 600 million bucks over the five films. Like that's like I was like, what smart writing and got ghostly effects. I love those kind of cheaper ways to make a film look and pop still. And I really like there's a new one I just watched not too long ago on what is it? What's the horror channel we have? The
Is it Shutter?
Shutter, yeah. There's
Yeah.
I keep going over to Shutter once in a while, and there's one that I got recently that I thought was really good called Unwelcomed, and I don't know if you
Oh,
guys have seen,
yeah.
Mm.
but it's
I've not
worth
heard
a
of that.
vibe. It's got some really cool, interesting vibe to it, and by the end, it's really worth it. That's one of my favorite ones right now that I like.
Yeah. I think Matt was a huge influence on me, but I also remember being like a kid, and me and my one girlfriend, we would go to our local like video rental. For us, it
Mhm.
was Jumbo Video, but of course, everyone knows Blockbuster from back in the day.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remember us both doing sleepovers all the time. We'd always pick a horror movie to watch, and we'd be like gripping each other's hands like so tight while like we're watching The Exorcist or Amityville Horror, and we'd go through like the top 10 lists of like what big horror movies that we should know about, and me and Ashley would watch them and just get all like scared together. And then
There's oh,
when I met him, he's like, let's go for some deeper cuts, man.
there's one about 15 years ago that came out that's really badass to see if you love creative monsters and ideas called Frankenstein's Army, and it was shot
Mm.
out of like Europe somewhere, and they stole the script and made it into this movie called Overlord board that came out not too long
Oh
ago.
yeah, yeah.
If you, I don't know, a lot of people, it came out pretty big. It had Kurt Russell's son, Wyatt Russell, was in it. And it was a
Hmm.
good movie, but it literally ripped off Frankenstein's Army. And if you see Frankenstein's Army, it's better. It's just this
Okay.
incredibly independent, but such a cool, interesting piece of horror art. I
Mhm.
thought that one was
The
super
imagery is
amazing.
really, really
Yeah,
crazy in
really,
it.
really good film
Mhm.
to watch if you're in the mood to, you know? Yeah, I could really.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
I want to take time on this podcast as a disclaimer. If anyone is going to go see the new Conjuring movie that just came out, it is so bad. And I would encourage everyone not to
Oh
watch that movie.
no. I
You
kind of
really
wanted to see it. Kevin was like,
no.
no, my
Oh my God.
husband. And I was like, why not? I love like anything. I'm a sucker for anything possession. That's my
Me
big
too.
thing.
same.
And all right,
It
fine. I'll
it
save my
was
doll. I'll save my dollars or
brutal.
wait until it
Like
comes to Netflix.
it's like my life's mission to get people not to go see this movie. It
Oh
was like I could
no.
not believe how bad it was. Like,
That
and I love
sucks.
that series too.
I
Like
know.
all the
I've
Conjuring
loved all
movies.
the other
Right.
ones. That
What's the main
sucks.
dude, the main guy that's in the Conjurings there? That
Patrick Wilson, I think is his
I
name.
like that guy. He did
Yeah,
all the
he's great, and he was good in it. Yeah,
what was the other ones he did with the ghost ones? The
Insidious.
Insidiouses. I like the
Yeah,
first two
it's
of those.
insidious.
Those two, the first two I thought were really good at that.
Yeah,
Dang.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But
I
in
should
terms
watch.
of a movie that you guys would score, what would that
Oh
be?
yeah, what would I score? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an intense question for me. I think, believe it or not, this is a strange one, but I Clive Barker's Hellraiser 2.
Mm,
Really wacky
Mm.
film. It's not necessarily an incredible film, but it's wacky. So to me, I'd dive into that one big time. I'd be like, oh, I could really create. It would inspire me to create a lot of crazy stuff. If you've seen the one, if you've seen that movie or not, it's a messy.
Some of the Hellraiser stuff was inspiration because I'm using a lot of like maze inspiration for like a labyrinth for this new era of the Neon Void. So I found like I was pinning some things on Pinterest that were like inspiring me. And then I was like, wait, these are like screen grabs from movies. And I started going back and like trying to find the movies that I liked the screen grabs from. And I found this one crazy, like it was from back in like, I don't know, like the 40s or something, like black and white and Dr. Caligari. And I'm like, oh my
mm,
goodness, this is like
It
where
was
like
cool.
Tim Burton must have gotten his inspiration from because it's like so like that style of like the kind of like weird angles and all that stuff everywhere,
mhm.
but it's like way predates. And I don't know, I love kind of like going back. There's so much mu movie history out there, and sometimes we forget that there's some really great gems like
I I
deeper and
I know
deeper.
for myself when she says Tim Burton, even though it's not full horror with Tim, like he inspires a lot of music from us. That's
Yeah.
Mhm.
like all his
Yeah.
movies and Danny Elfman's arrangements.
Hmm.
Danny Elfman's probably one of my heroes. So it's like
Mhm.
he come from a bit of a circusy kind of vibe of adding stuff. So that all falls into that world. Like anything from them, but even though it's not necessarily horror, early Tim stuff is still that'd be cool to dive into, try and make a score over. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll listen to like the Beetlejuice score or something while I'm driving, and it'll like feel like I'm actually like in a movie, like dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. Yeah, I had the pleasure of seeing Danny Elfman live like I think 2 years in a row, like
That's
pretty
great.
recently. And like he would do like the Nightmare Before at the Hollywood Bowl like every year around Halloween time. It was so
I
cool.
read I've read all about it and I've seen all these.
Yeah,
I've
we would
never been
love
able
to.
to see it. Same with like I was reading about how he's doing some of his Oingo Boingo stuff, like his
Hmm.
early punk rocky new wave stuff, and
Yeah,
I loved, and I was man, I would just love to see that live.
Yeah, we
it
saw
was
the
pretty awesome.
movie that his dad directed. What was
Yes,
that
yeah.
called?
So he because the story behind Danny is his whole family were artists, right? They,
Hmm.
so they had the Knights of the Oingo Boingo, and it was his father and his older brother that started this. So they have a movie they made called Forbidden World. I want to
Mm.
say. Forbidden World, and it's a strange one. It was like mid late 70s, early 80s, and Danny's in it too as a really young kid, but it's all done in like 2D, like very much like what Skye's doing right now is just like these cardboard cutouts of things, and they made a whole film like this.
Yeah, it feels like a set design as if you're in a theater, but it's like the movie's made like that, so it's all like 2D
Forbidden
sets.
Zone. I want to say Forbidden Zone or Forbidden World.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a strange watch though. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I
Well,
love that.
thank you so much, guys, for going on this horror rabbit hole with us. Really appreciate it. Sort of before we just wrap up, anything else you want to just sort of shout out or
Reanimator.
let?
What about Reanimator? Have you checked out Reanimator before?
You know what? I actually have not. I need
Okay.
to.
Reanimator. That's a good
Okay.
classic 80s crazy horror that people don't talk about enough. That's awesome. That one's amazing.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll write it down for sure. I've been needing to see that movie for sure.
He'll
That
keep
one's got
going.
a
He'll
I
keep
can keep
going.
going once you get my brain going. Oh, Reanimator 1, 2, and 3. Three is pretty wild too, but it's
Yeah.
all worth watching.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I definitely will.
Yeah,
But
we're
yeah,
thank you guys so much for having us. That was so
Of
much fun. And
course.
like I'm glad you can oblige us in some of the crazy horror movie stuff and
oh my God, yeah,
all the
of
stories.
course.
We like to ramble, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. Thank you so much, y'all. And to all the listeners, Neon Void is out October 24th. Encourage everybody to listen to it. And yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but just thank you so much again, y'all. This has been so much fun and it's
Sure.
been awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Our
thank you for
pleasure.
having us. And yeah, thanks to everyone who's out there listening, watching. Thank you guys so much for the support. Hope you guys will check out the new record and or some of the videos online.
Yes.
Do a Sumo Cyco Neon Void rabbit hole, go down there.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, y'all. We'll let y'all get back to the evening and everything and just, yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All
Take
Bye.
right. See
Bye.
y'all.